Welcome to the latest episode of the B Movie Club. I'm your host, Kevin. This will be discussing the 1986 horror classic, Maximum Overdrive, starring Emilio Estevez. It's an all-star cast. For those of you joining us for the first time, each week on the B Movie Club, I discuss certain guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the past. You can go ahead and go to our page on Facebook and give us the big thumbs up. That's the original B Movie Club. You can also go to our page on YouTube, Kevin D, that's me, and subscribe. It's totally free. And you can follow me on Twitter at the B Movie Club. Don't forget to spread the word and tell all your friends and neighbors, okay? Maximum Overdrive. In this movie, a comet has blown through our solar system and has wrapped the Earth in kind of a greenish cloud, if you will. I don't know if that's the right scientific term. And something's happened. It's like normally inanimate objects and machines are coming to life with homicidal urges. So cars are now running people down, etc., etc. Electric knives are going. People are being attacked by hair dryers. All sorts of horrible things are happening. The story centers on this truck stop in the South. It's called the Dixie Boy truck stop. And it's basically peopled by ex-cons who are kind of, you know, I work the grill, she waits the tables, he, I don't know, cleans out the bathrooms, I guess. And they're all kind of former people who were in jail, and now they're kind of, as part of their parole, they have to have a job, and this is some kind of deal where they have to work there. So when the trucks start going nuts, literally these giant semis start running people down, people start going into the truck stop and hiding. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? People are being run down. And people are a little slow on the uptake. In this movie, there's a lot of, oh my God, there's a car 400 yards from me. Ah! Boom. Right? Okay, you could have moved. You could have run, do a little shimmy to the side, something like that. No. If somebody's dead, they're dead. And they're not doing much about it to save themselves, sadly. So, at this truck stop, the guy working the grill is Bill. He is played by Emilio Estevez. He's a kindly ex-con, you know what I'm saying? He had his prison record. It was like, well, I was a good guy who just made a bad mistake, and it's all good. Along the way, they pick up a young hitchhiker. She's in there as well. She becomes kind of the love interest for good old Emilio. We also discover that the owner of the truck stop is this old grouchy guy, played by Pat Hingle, and he has like an arsenal of like weapons underneath the truck stop. Okay, underneath they go down there. There's like bazookas and machine guns and Uzis and all sorts of stuff, grenades. For some reason, he isn't busting this out earlier than this, but eventually they pull out bazookas and start shooting the runaway semis. The semis, again, seem to have a mind of their own, and at one point they seem to be led by this giant semi that works for a toy company that has a giant like face on the front of it. It's like the Green Goblin from Spider-Man, right? The Green Goblin smiling face. So it's kind of it's a scary thing, okay? Eventually what starts happening is the semis start running out of gas little by little. And they're like, whew, I guess we'll be okay. Oh no. The next day, a big like bulldozer pulls up, runs into the side of the building, smashes into it, and another little crazy Jeep thing with like an M60 machine gun on the top pulls up, and using Morse code through its honking, communicates, because there's a Boy Scout in attendance who's a master of Morse code. I was a Boy Scout. I can do SOS, but that's about it. This Jeep has a long missive about how they need to come out and basically fill up all the trucks, fill up all the cars, or, we'll gun you down. When he rolled in after the semi smashed, after the tractor smashed into the side of the building, he started shooting his machine gun. And of course, he's shooting for 5 minutes. And after the first, couple of bullets come flying in, I think I might hit the deck. No, people are still standing there 5 minutes later. Whoa, what's going on? I've been shot. Oh. So, if somebody's shooting at you, if nothing else, hit the deck. That's all I'm going to say. So he says, I won't shoot any more of you. The the tractor will not smash up any more of the truck stop if you come out and you fill up our tanks, basically. And they're like, okay, in a failing of logic here, they say, okay, we'll fill you up if you promise not to hurt us, essentially. So they start filling up all the semis, filling up all the semis, filling up all the semis. Eventually, they discover a way to sneak out. There's like a tunnel that leads out. Again, they're now armed with guns and stuff. They shoot a couple more rockets, throw a grenade or two, and they escape. They get out, they leave the truck stop, and they make it to like a, well, I don't want to give away everything. I don't want to spoil all the majesty that is Maximum Overdrive. You'll just have to check it out yourself, okay? This movie is based upon a short story by Stephen King called Trucks, and it kind of talks about, there is that kind of thing where there's like a comet, and it makes all the cars and trucks come to life and run people down, things like that. So he was saying basically like, I've had a lot of my movies adapted into movies, or a lot of my books adapted into movies, and they always mess it up. Now I'm going to do it. This was kind of his tagline before the movie came out. I'm going to make sure it's done right. Okay? Here's a couple of problems. A, Stephen King has never directed anything in his life up to this movie. This is his first and only directorial debut. Okay? Sadly, to compound that issue, he was, by his own admission, coked out of his mind the entire filming of this. Okay? When people came up to him later and they said, hey, how come you haven't directed anything since Maximum Overdrive? His response usually is along the lines of, well, have you seen Maximum Overdrive? Wah, wah, wah. I added the wah, wah, wah myself. Critics have said, while the film is kind of a mishmash of random things that don't fit together all that well, there are moments when you watch and you can say, oh, there's a good directorial eye behind certain shots, things like that. But overall, big thumbs down, sadly. Stephen King is in this movie. If you watch briefly, he's the guy at the beginning of the movie who's trying to use the ATM. The ATM is calling him bad words and things like that. So, there's Stephen King. He always kind of pops up. He's like Stan Lee in those comic book movies. Stephen King, if it's a movie based on his, oftentimes you'll see him kind of wandering around in the background. That kind of thing. The soundtrack is like mostly AC/DC, who at the time were Stephen King's favorite band. So if you listen, you can hear Hell's Bells, you can hear Shook Me All Night Long. So there's something, that has something to it, right? There's a curse about this movie, evidently. A couple people were injured or almost injured. There was a scene where a wood chipper went crazy. There's like a wood chipping scene, and shards of splinters, I guess, hit the DOP, the director of photography's eye, and he actually lost an eye. And he actually sued Stephen King, and they settled out of court. So that's no laughing matter. Another scene later in the movie where the ice cream truck is hit with a bazooka. Spoiler alert. And it was supposed to flip over. Instead, it flipped on its side and literally slid towards where the camera person was filming, and they had to pull him out of the way at the last minute, or he would have been squished. So, yikes. There's a scene on the baseball diamond where a little leaguer is run over by a steamroller, and basically what they wanted is they basically had a mannequin that was filled, that was kind of like a balloon, that was supposed to, when it was run over, it was supposed to kind of paint the bottom of the steamroller, so that when it kept going, it would kind of paint this line of like red as it went across the grass. The effect, however, was a little bit different. When it hit that kid and rolled over him, it exploded, like boom, which created a much more gruesome scene. Stephen King loved it. Sadly, the censors said, no can do on that one, big guy. Some problems with this movie? They constantly are saying, every machine has come to life and they all have murderous intentions. But there's a lot of cars that never turn evil. There's a lot of cars that just sit there in the parking lot. There's a lot of cars, people driving their own car. Oh, we got to get away from this truck chasing us. But the car they're in just seems to be a car. Now, is it machines? Because there's, like I said earlier, the woman is shown dead by her hairdryer, where it's like the cords wrapped around her neck. Is it machines, or is it just any inanimate objects? Because if it's any inanimate objects, like forks could get you. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're laying down and a pillow just crawls over and smothers you. It's hard to say what the story is. You know? It's because at one point, like I said, all of the truckers and people are kind of holed up inside the truck stop. But they're still like having food and doing things, and it's not that big of a deal. Whereas if the cords attached to machines can get you, I mean, you know, what's to stop a ceiling fan from coming down and getting you? Who knows? If you look closely, Giancarlo Esposito, people who watch Breaking Bad might remember him. He was Gus Fring on Breaking Bad. He's in this movie in a very short scene. He's in the arcade when all the arcade machines start going crazy, and he gets electrocuted by one of the video games. So keep your eye open for that guy as well. What else can I tell you about this movie? In another crazy cameo, if you look very, very closely towards the beginning of the movie, there's the bridge kind of going up on its own. If you look, there's a boat crossing under the bridge at that moment. In that boat is none other than AC/DC themselves. So you're going to need a magnifying glass, but trust me, that's them. The Dixie Boy, where the movie took place, was actually not a real truck stop. It was a set made just for this movie. But it was so lifelike that real truckers were trying to stop there and refuel and eat greasy food, I guess. In fact, after the movie was over, investors came in and actually bought the set and turned it into a real truck stop that lasted for a few years there. So there you have it. Maximum Overdrive. One thing I like about this, or don't like, depending on how you want to look at it, is when certain movies try to inject the title in a line, even if it doesn't make any sense. For example, in this movie, they're like, the girl's looking out the window, seeing all the trucks rolling around. She's like, it's like maximum overdrive out there. You know, all these trucks coming, it's like maximum overdrive. And people just kind of nod, yeah, that's right. What in the hell does that even mean? Nobody knows. Good grief. So, it currently has a 17% rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. Let me say that again. 17%. Yeah. I picked this movie, I hadn't seen it in a while, and it is kind of a picture-perfect example of a bad movie, you know what I'm saying? Oftentimes, it's humorous because it's so ridiculous. You're not sure, am I supposed to be laughing at this, or what's the reaction you're supposed to get here? The only reason I chose this is B-Movie Club member Sean suggested, have you done Maximum Overdrive? I said, if it's on Netflix streaming, I'm in. I don't know why I said that, but in retrospect, it's ridiculous fun. Again, not a great movie by any stretch of the imagination, but if you got some time to kill, maybe you're folding laundry, for example, hey, pop on a little Maximum Overdrive. It is still streaming instantly on Netflix, so see it if you'd like. Next week, I'm moving away from the horror genre into comedy. We're going to do the classic baseball movie, Major League, starring Charlie Sheen, Tom Berenger, Corbin Burnson. The list goes on and on. So check that out. Go ahead and go to our page on Facebook, Original B Movie Club. Give us the big thumbs up. Go to our page on YouTube and subscribe. It's totally free. You can follow me on Twitter at the B Movie Club. Don't forget to spread the word, won't you? You can send me any favorite scenes, favorite quotes, questions, and comments, and I might just talk about it on the show. As you know, I end every episode with a totally out of context quote, and here it is. You scumball! You want to rock and roll with me, puss bag? So there it is. Thank you for joining us. Next week, Major League with Charlie Sheen. Be well.